So, as you can see, I've got 300 skill in mining, and of course the things that I do for you guys is, well, it's pretty interesting. Here we go. Goodbye mining. Hello apprentice mining.
Alrighty, what's good everybody? I hope you're all doing well today. Welcome back to our fourth installment of our professions leveling guide. If you've not seen the previous video in the series though, where we was becoming the next best neurosurgeon, then you can find a card to that video in the upper right hand portion of the screen right now. Alternatively, you can find a link down below in the description to this video. Anyways, today's video, as you would have guessed from the title, is mining. We're going to cover how to level from 1 to 300 in the mining profession as an alliance player. Horde could probably follow this guide also, except you wouldn't be able to use the same starter zones and your trainer would be in a different location. Although aside from that, I imagine you could easily follow the same routes for the neutral zones. So if you can, great. That's even more people that could potentially benefit from this. Since I am being generous to the Horde today, why not show some generosity yourself by giving this video a cheeky thumbs up, as it helps with the algorithm. As always, let's begin with the positives and the negatives, if any. Starting with the negatives, since it's always better to have the bad first and then the good after. Mining has a couple of downsides in my opinion. The first downside is the fact that it takes a long time to level it to 300. You see, with the servers being much higher in population compared to the original vanilla servers, the zones are way more populated, and it's because of this, if there is any competition, then it will likely take you a long time to get through this hard grind. Believe me, it took me nearly twice as long as it should have because of this reason alone. Kind of makes me want to be on the side of layering for this issue. Since we also are talking about a competition, the good places to farm the rich thorium veins are way over contested in my opinion. I find myself spending 2 hours and over trying to find the final 25 thorium nodes to get me to 300 because of this. And it is because of this that mining in the open world is a terrible way of gold farming. The only way it's viable is if you did things like diamond jump runs where you can get the rich thorium veins at the end of the instance. Also, a lot of the nodes you begin to farm while leveling won't be attainable for you for some unknown reason. What I mean by this is, for example, you're at the skill of 125 in Arathi Highlands trying to farm some iron ore. Then you encounter a mithril node. Well, unfortunately, you won't be able to mine this as you're too low in skill. This is repeatedly, consistently throughout all of the zones that you'll be visiting, which is terribly annoying. Going to the positives now, and I feel that despite what I've just said, not to sound contradictory, but it actually can be a great gold farming profession. If the zones like winter spring with high volumes of rich thorium veins is not contested, such as in the early hours of the morning, it can be very lucrative indeed. The amount of gold the dense stones are worth, as well as the off chance to get an arcane crystal, makes it highly valued in my opinion. You've just got to time your sessions right, that's all. It's also great because there will always be people needing the arcane crystals to make the arcanite bars, even into TBC content, as Thunder Fury is such an awesome weapon for tanks. Heck, even rogues can see a great benefit from having this sword, even if it is Hunter Prio of course. The amount of gold made is fairly decent too. I made roughly a total of 200 gold from going from 1 to 300 with this, which is just like fishing, it's a nice passive gain to be honest. Moving on to the who, and we can safely say that any class is suited to this, although personally I would either have a plate wearing class or a rogue go into this profession for the following reasons. If you're a rogue, having paired this with herbalism, you can easily stealth past mobs and quickly nab the veins or herbs yourself without having to worry about carving a path to them, making it a great class to pair both of these gathering professions with, as it would save a lot of time on your farming sessions. If you do wear plate, then by combining mining with blacksmithing could be highly advantageous too. The reason being is because you can craft the likes of Lionheart Helm and Sulfuran Hammer. Even in TBC you'll be able to farm those pre-biz big dick items such as the Lionheart Executioner or Red Havoc boots. The reason you want to do this, aside from the above reasons mentioned, is because in its purest form it is a fantastic profession to have. Those reasons above included, it's also fun to just casually go mine some nodes for an hour or two do as a spur of the moment thing. Unless you have a similar situation to me, then it's not fun at all. Without rambling on too much anymore, it's time to begin the how-to as well as the where-tos. So starting out, you'd want to visit your mining trainer. They're located in a number of cities. For me, I chose Ironforge. The mining trainer is called Geofram Bouldertoe, awesome name by the way, and is located inside the building called the Deep Mountain Mining Guild. Simply speak to him and learn the apprentice mining skill. Also, you want to purchase a mining pick from what seems to be his brother called Golnir Bouldertoe. After this, simply head on down to Dunmorrow. You'll be going from 1 to 65 in this zone, and it will typically take you about an hour to complete. For me personally, I use this exact route as follows. Simply follow the route in any direction you like and mine all of the copper that you come across. Once you've done and are at 65 in skill, head back to the trainer and learn the journeyman mining skill. Then it's time to head on down to the next zone. For this, I chose to go to the Red Ridge Mountains, as this zone is fairly small and the route is a decent one too, with a few caves. Remember, when mining, it's always advantageous to go into a cave, as there will always be at least 2 nodes within. In this zone, you'll be able to mine a lot of tin and copper also, tin being the main one since we're now after this, as it will give us 1 skill per node, unlike copper, which should now be green. And sometimes on the rare occasion, you'll come across some silver too. You'll be here until you hit the skill of 125 in mining, and the time it takes will likely be around an hour at most, depending if you have competition or not. After you've reached that, head back to your trainer and learn expert mining. This is where we can begin to see a slight return on our time with items such as the heavy stones, and you will end up with a lot of these stones as you go along, as well as the other higher and lower level stones. We'll be heading down to the Arathi Highlands now. Also, this zone will take us from 125 to 175 in our mining skill. The route I followed was this one right here, and you'll likely be here for another hour or so. Again, this is very dependent upon your competition. The main nodes we're after here are the iron nodes and then the gold nodes once we hit the scale of 150. From the scale of 175 to 225, you'll be in both Tanaris and the hinterlands. Of course, which one you go to is your choice. The reason is because both are just as good for mining, although I would say in my honest opinion, the hinterlands may have the edge since it's slightly smaller. You'll be farming lots of mithril here and true silver as soon as we get to the scale of 200. Simply follow the routes I take as seen here. This will take you between 1 and 2 hours now, as this is where you'll likely have a lot of competition. Fortunately for me, I didn't really have much in the hinterlands, although I did in Tanaris. After reaching the scale of 225, head back to your trainer and learn the artisan mining skill. At this point, I would go and reward yourself with a nice cup of tea and a cake, since so far it's probably been a hefty grind. Then it's back to the previous zones that we was just in and follow the same routes until you get to the scale of 245, which, to be honest, it shouldn't take you longer than an hour. After this, it's time to go to a new zone now. I did hear that the blasted lands were quite good, although from what I found, it was surprisingly terrible. I may have had competition, although I didn't exclusively come across anybody, so the mystery still remains. Regardless though, I recommend slugging it out here or in Fellwood until you're at the scale of 275, and the routes that you'll be following are as seen right here. You'll also be mining more mithril, true silver, and finally the small thorium veins in these zones. You'll also get to see the dark portal here too, which is a nice sight. Do be careful of the elite demons though, they do pack a punch. After this, nice one, you're on the final lap. From the scale of 275 to 300, I found Winter Spring to be really good, despite the high competition. If you can catch this place when it's empty, you'll have done it in under an hour. Simply follow this route here and begin mining all of the small thorium and the rich thorium veins. And ding, nice one, 300 mining. Congratulations, you've finally done it. Some final thoughts now before closing is that if you are planning on going engineering after this, I would save all of the ore and smelt it. The reason is because after you've gotten to 300, you'll likely have almost all of the required bars to help you level engineering, which is great as everybody says it's a really expensive profession to have, which is logical since it doesn't really make you any money. So keep that in mind. Also smelt all of the ore anyways, as sometimes the bars are worth more than the ore themselves. So make sure that you do a little bit of research before just randomly posting them on the auction house. You never know, you could make a decent extra amount of gold from that. Finally, I'd like to say that this was an absolute nightmare to do for a second time on my Paladin. Sure, I could have done it on an alt. The issue is that my next highest level alt is only level 46, so I couldn't really max it out on him and get all of the footage in time for this video. But I'm glad I'm doing it anyways, because when I do it a third and final time on my rogue in due time, I'll know from experience the best locations, times, and how long it might take me. Which is good to know, as when you go into anything without a clear vision or goal, well, it's hard to see in a dark cave without a torch. Let's just leave it at that. Anyways, hopefully by now you're well armed with the knowledge to get yourself from 1 to 300 in the mining profession in WoW Classic. If you've enjoyed today's video, then be sure to share it with your friends, as I'm sure they could benefit from this too. As always guys, if you've not subscribed yet, then please go ahead and do that now, as it helps me out in my goal of reaching 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube. But until the next time everybody, see ya!